I'm Dane Rose. Welcome. Thank you for joining. And in this exploration, I want to discuss my way into the wound, into depression, disintegration, trauma, isolation, loneliness, addiction, etc., and my way out of it. So the way in, begins in childhood with a divergence between, the high-minded superhuman, my parents, Michael, Sherilyn, into anthroposophy, part of a nonprofit to send us to Waldorf schools. We only eat vegetarian. We're better than other people in all of this, right? So, public schools, they don't know what they're doing. The government, they don't. So there's a lot of, elevation of the parents, while at the same time, inducing PTSD, complex PTSD through physical violence, shaming. My mother shared that at one point she just hurled me as an infant on the floor for, just to express some, irrational sense of rage at the moment. And so I grew up terrified in a sense of shame, a lot of fear. My kindergarten teacher at Waldorf School, who was my godmother, would send me into the basement of the Waldorf School and say that I would be eaten by witches in the dark, right? So because I was fidgeting, right? So I had nightmares at home because of the, various traumas. And so then my parents would reenact an abandonment thing. Having terrified me of the world, they would then send me out in the world, right? And I was just panicking, weeping uncontrollably as I'd be pushed into the kindergarten. And then my kindergarten teacher didn't want to have to deal with that, and so she would threaten me with being eaten by witches. And then, you add in the mythology of the pathological Christian God expressed in the Old Testament, with all his judgments and punishments and banishments to lakes of fire and this. The whole thing just seemed absolutely terrifying. And so I was absolutely terrified. And in the traditional Western culture, you pathologize the child, right? The cult dumps its pathology onto the child. The child, can't function. Now the child is hyper. The child has a learning disability. The child is this and this. And all these labels get attached to the child that's just trying to function, right, in all of this insanity. Meanwhile, the cult gets no diagnosis. The parents get no diagnosis. The abusive kindergarten teacher gets no diagnosis. The child, at the effect of all of this pathology, gets labeled, right? And the parents are exonerated, right? They write the check to the psychologist. Now they know what's wrong with their child. It's wonderful, right? They don't know what's wrong with themselves or anything like that. So that's the first wave, right? And that's enough to engender distrust and paranoia and complex PTSD and strong memories of waiting to be hit and waiting to be whipped. And then there's the hypocrisy labeled on the, we're these wonderful people that don't make any mistakes. So who's the problem? You are, right? I'm the problem, right? I'm the one disturbing and ruining my parents' lives, right? So there's this incredible terror and anxiety, right? Now, that leaves me then in a desperately needy state, wanting validation, wanting comfort, wanting security, wanting some secure attachment with someone. And the cult says, don't seek it with men, that's gay, right? We'll punish you and humiliate for that. I'm 49 in 2024. And so, lots of exposure to hostility for anyone that, is too close to another man. So what does that leave? Well, that leaves women, right? Please, will you comfort me? Will you reassure me? I'm anxious. I'm terrified. I want mothering. I want someone to say that I'm okay, right? But then you have the hostility of women. I don't want a man-child. I'm sick of this. I don't want needy people. I want a real, I want a sociopath that, that does this and is cool and this and that. Well, I'm not a sociopath. I'm just terrified, right? So then there's that whole dynamic and being blamed, right, for anything that goes wrong in relationships. What do I have to? No, you have to understand what I need and this. So there's all the reenactment of abandonment, and attachment trauma with women, right? Then moving to therapists, and a homosexual therapist, comes on to me. I don't know what to make of that. Then the next time, that therapist ends up suggesting a high dose of psychedelics. I fall madly in love with this therapist. Then he obviously feels frightened and guilty or whatever, so he abandons me, right? So then reenacts the attachment trauma. And I just go berserk. And, I just lose it. It's like I'm desperately trying to be good enough in this, layer after layer of sociopathic insanity and absurdity, right? And it's always my fault, and I'm just sick of it, right? It's not my fucking fault, right? So, but of course, cowards go into denial, and so it's not my fault, right? In a shame-based culture, nobody wants to be punished, because in an incompetent, sociopathic, shame-based culture, whoever, you first of all, you scapegoat people, because the culture doesn't have the competency to be effective at creating well-being with its members. So who's going to be to blame, right? Because whoever's going to be blamed, they're going to get the punishment, right? So it's profoundly incompetent, right? Anyone who understands system design, who understands ecology, understands that it's not ever one person's fault. It's not ever one part, right? The entire ecology is at a certain stage of evolution. The entire culture is at a certain stage of evolution, a stage that knows how to espouse ideals and blame the scapegoat. It's just not a very great stage. Right? And so, there's the constant looking, who's going to be the scapegoat, right? So as a kid, I learned to direct the blame from me to my younger siblings, right? So they would get the beatings rather than me. My parents, of course, learned to direct the blame to each other, and use the children as the constant validator. It's your father's fault. He's ruining our lives, right? Look what your mother did. And of course, it's not my wife's fault or my husband's fault, because that's the symptom of a responsible adult. It's, look what your mother did. Well, she wouldn't have been my mother if you hadn't had a child with her, if you hadn't chosen her and fucked her without a condom. She wouldn't have been my mother. Yes, but she's your mother. Look what she's doing. Look what your father is doing. It's like, well, what's he doing now? It's terrible. He's doing this and this. Right? And we're all spiritual, right? Don't look at the rest of the world. They're all fools. We know what we're talking about. Look at it's insane. It's absolutely insane, right? And of course, the therapist didn't want to own up, right? And get punished. And the therapist that recommended the therapist, and right, the organization that recommended they didn't want to own up, right? So it's your fault. You've got to work this out. Right? Fuck you, you son of a bitch. I'm sick and tired. Right? I'm sick and tired of being told how it's all my fault and nobody else does anything wrong. Right? It's the man's fault. It's the this. You should have understood the woman's feelings that she didn't. You should have done that. It's just too much, right? So I flipped at that point into rage, blame, shaming, criticizing, giving all this back, to the cult that delivered it. Right? No, return to sender. Return to sender. You don't get to be a fucked up, untrained, therapist, right? That then shames me for not doing my therapy well enough, right? No, fuck that, right? And after trying 20 different therapists and, getting middling results and sometimes up and some, I'm not going to take the hit that I didn't find the good enough therapist. You fucking assholes, get your job, get your act together. Start measuring your results with your patients and seeing if any of you are any good. Right? Publish the results. 9 out of 10 people like this therapist and found them helpful in this area, but not in that area. And get it together. Right? Stop blaming your patients. So and charging us. Right? So anyway, a big backlash. And meeting silence, denial, and no, we didn't do it, I then set out to find the proof, right? So 1,000 hours of trauma and PTSD research, and yes, you're a bad therapist here, you were a bad parent there, you're a bad parent there. What I'm basically doing at this stage is trying to give the cult back all of the terror, all of the shame, all of the scapegoating that was dumped onto me and my siblings, and by the looks of it, to many other people. And in that, being able to medicate helplessness and loneliness, hurt and despair, just what the fuck am I supposed to do? No idea, right? But, so I just set about demonstrating incompetence, which proved to be quite wide-ranging, right? My government is incompetent. My therapists are incompetent. My culture is incompetent. My partners are incompetent. My parents are incompetent, right? So... and a lot of these New Age teachings and this and that, incompetent, right? They're not getting results. And you can blame the people, right? Or you can start looking at the statistics and say, if only 5% of people get the desired outcome, maybe it's not a very good protocol, right? Maybe it's not a very good meditation. Maybe it's not a very good channeled, psychic this and that, the other, right? If you're so psychic, go win the lottery and demonstrate some objective results before you, just foist these things off on your clients. So, that then was the thing. But that led to a lot of bitterness, a lot of isolation, a lot of blame, because, of course, nobody wants to hear it, right? Nobody wants to deal with it. You're all fucked up for all these reasons. I don't want to hear about that, right? So that leaves, isolation. So then what to do about it, right? Well, how to be the solution, right? So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to create a microculture. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start nonprofit work, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to raise money for the nonprofit. So that starts the turnaround to say, rather than just criticize the world, let's do something about it. So starting nonprofits, raising money, basically working hard, making money, and donating it to my nonprofits. Creating visions, I'm going to help these people and do this and do this. Well, it turns out that, this person doesn't want to be helped. This person does not see the valuable opportunity that I'm presenting with this hard-earned money and this and that, right? These people don't want to volunteer to help me, help these people that don't want to be helped, right? And so that's enraging. Why, you fucking assholes, I'm doing all this stuff against and now you don't want to be helped. Right? You just want handouts. And so now I'm enraged, right? Now I'm enraged at the people that don't want to be helped, that don't see it my way, that don't want to help me, help the people that don't want to be helped, right? So there's all that. Right, and then then I'm going to forge ahead anyway, right? And I'm going to do this, and then the people are stealing the nonprofit assets, and I bought some land in Costa Rica as the place to build this kind of microculture. Immediately, the neighbors come in and steal it, and I said, I'm trying to do something good for the community, so let's charge them double to, get as much money from the gringo, right? It's sickening, right? From the real estate agent to the attorney to sickening, right? It's just hell, right? How can you turn around and be a solution in such a sociopathic problem, in such a sociopathic environment? Where you're going to volunteer time to make money, to volunteer the money to buy things to help people so that the neighbors can steal them, right? So that you can hire people at twice the cost to get as much money out of you. Like, does no one care about the community here, right? So now they're all the idiots, right? You're bad. You didn't care about the community, and you're bad, and I'm trying to help others, right? So there's all this righteousness and and confusion and depression about all of that, right? And so it's going to war, like you're wrong, and I see it the right way. So it's another battle, right? So I took that to a certain point, and then just said, so all of this is, I would say, digging in deeper to some extent. There's a release of insanity in validating the experience. There's a certain amount of release of shame in giving it back to others, and and saying no, you don't get to blame your kids for all of your stupidity and all this, right? So there's a certain amount of that. There's then a certain amount of creativity and interest in these ideas, but also deeper isolation, because it's not a very transcendent or empathic culture or world. And so to be unusually empathetic and transcendent in the world is to be a very distinct minority, right? How many people want to volunteer to help this and this and this? 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, right? How many people want to give money to help with this and this and this for these reasons? 1 in 1,000, right? So instantly one becomes 1 in 1,000, a distinct minority, which then highlights loneliness and frustration. Now I'm carrying all these burdens. How am I going to do all of this on my own, right? If everyone else wants to charge top dollar to help me volunteer to do things with money that I've contributed, I'm going to feel more alone. Like I'm the one doing the transcendent step. They're doing the greed step, right? And so I'm in the transcendent dance, they're in the greed dance. How do I feel at one or connected, right? Meet the needs for love and belonging. Right, and so, and similarly in friendship and dating and stuff, it's difficult to be a good friend, right, when you're suffering from depression and PTSD and loneliness and resentment and, anger and rage and all of these things. So in a sociopathic, culture, people just say, that person is a lot of work. Let's spend time with this other person who's either in denial or at least, hiding the problems and, helping us to distract from them. And so, so then I'm alone again, right? And in the anxiety, of what that brings up. So, that leads to a lot of, bitterness and a lot of resentment, a lot of cynicism, a lot of distrust, a lot of hurt, a lot of self-pity, a lot of contempt, right? You fucking bastard, you coward. A lot of that, right? Now, that is a drug, it is useful to, contempt will sometimes help you get out of bed, blame and punishment, you can get out of bed for that. And so there's certainly some utility in some of these stages in things. I helped one woman, I gave her a job, I got her a visa to the US and stuff, and then she immediately did as little as possible, right, which became an absurd nightmare. Like this, you worked really hard to get up to this point, now you have this opportunity, now you want to sabotage it in every possible way. Like, what's going on here? And so, anyway, just heaviness. So what's the way out? Because I would say that in the last periods of months, I'm moving up, meaning addiction is going down, pleasure is going up, enjoyment is going up, presence is going up, excitement is going up, energy is going up, depression is going down, resentment is going down, weights are falling away. So what's going up? What's the ascent, basically? Well, I put the Costa Rican land up for sale. I decided not to fight my government any more than I had on homelessness. I wrote a book on homelessness that, pointed out all the cruelty in our cult and all this stuff. And, so I expressed that out to the best of my ability and was able to see and look at the fact that it wasn't leading me to joy and well-being, right? And so, first of all, just letting go of the burden, like it's my job to be the solution, it's my job to hold others accountable and do this. Or just letting go of some of those things. I don't have to keep working in a job that I don't want to do to raise money for a nonprofit that other people don't want to help me with. I don't have to do that. And so then the focus is more on like what actually is working, what is fun for me. So one, early retirement, right? I don't enjoy having to complain to my employees all the time about why did you do this when I said to do this, right? And then having to listen to the absurd answers, right? I told one employee, I said, I asked for 5 lights here, so why are there 4 lights? And she says, well, I know you asked for 5 lights, but I put in 4 lights. I know, you fucking son of a bitch, right? The question is why? You're being paid hourly to follow instructions per our contract. So why did you put in 4 when you know that I asked you to put in 5? And I don't even want to hear the answer. Just go fuck yourself, right? Go fuck yourself, right? I don't want to hear the answer tomorrow of why you did 10 instead of 8, right? I don't want to hear it. I'm sick of it, right? So early retirement, wonderful. That's basically my job, is to drive around, right? Looking and inspecting work and noticing the gap between what is expected and what is agreed to and what is asked for and what is done. And to deal with, what passive-aggressive, stupid, whatever it is, and then, deal with the self-pity and stuff that comes up around that, and then have to be harsher to get the results. Either you're fired or go do the fucking lights. Is that fun to say? No. Is it fun to have employees like that? No. Right? That's my job, right? To go and do that, right? And I've done all of the work, right? So I know what's involved. I'm just tired, right? So retiring early. Now, I couldn't do that, though, without building up a retirement fund. So I've been doing that during this period, and that is a big part of it, right? For me, $600,000 it's enough, right? Particularly, I'm retiring to the Philippines. It's enough, right? So I've had to learn investing and lose lots of money in the process and do that. But, I think I know what I'm doing. more than not at this point, right? So that's, part of it, learning, investing, saving up enough money to retire, learning to protect it from taxes so that, I can actually, use the money for retirement. So that's a big part of it, right? So going from never enough, I'm always scared about money, that was one of my addictions, right? To I've got enough. So that's an outer shift that reaches a threshold of belief, right? Because there's still the belief in there, I don't have enough, I never have enough, I never have enough. There's still that chatter. But for me, saying, what do you mean you don't have enough? That's $600,000. If you invest that, at 7% interest, that's, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. That's enough to retire in the Philippines, right? So I don't have to be in the role of the critic, the complainer, the martyred employer, right? I don't know how to get out of that role, right? I've had 300 employees. Only one in 300 is and was absolutely fantastic. And so, the best employee of my life is and was absolutely fantastic, right? So I'll keep him. Nobody else comes close, right? 300, right? So I have 1 in 300. I don't want to hire 300 more people to find another one. It's too much. I don't want to do it, right? So letting go of that, retiring, leaving the United States. I don't want to have to complain about this and that, and the leaving the United States, right? Going to the Philippines. I would say that is, so retiring, I would say, lifts instantly 50% of my burdens, right? Now, these don't all add up to 100% because it doesn't work that way. But so these percentages are not going to add up to 100%. But retiring, I no longer have to listen to my clients telling me the obvious, which is where my employees did not do this, this, and this. And I no longer have to, complain to the employees to do this and this and this. 50%, right? 50% better right there. And then moving to the Philippines, 300% better. Costs go down, weather, nature, lifestyle goes up. 350% improvement while costs go down. So it's really per dollar, it's a 600% improvement. Saving up $600,000 from that panic of never enough. Wonderful. And putting that into structures where I can spend that effectively to help others, putting that in nonprofit structures where I can spend my life doing little things that make a big difference in people's life. Some dental work here, some training here, some help over here. These are some wonderful things that can be done, and I like it. Right? I like it. So that's a big step, but there's still 80%. There's still a lot. I'm not free of depression with that. I'm not, right. So what's taking me the last step to real freedom? Well, certainly turning a lot of this stuff into teachings and making videos like this has improved my well-being 30%. Partly by feeling useful, partly by eliminating the sense of invisibility and isolation and loneliness by being visible, and partly by the phenomena that while many people do not, I would say maybe 90% of the people that I share advice with throughout my life do not take the advice. They do absolutely nothing with it. even though it's good advice. However, what I do is I give advice to others. 90% of them ignore them. 10% of people's lives improve that take the advice. But I always listen to my own advice and take it, right? I tell my friend, you should do this and this and this. She ignores it, but then I say, that's a good idea. Why don't I do this and this and this? And I do it and my life gets better. And so there's that's the mechanism, right? So 15% of or 10% of the well-being of that 30% improvement has come from the thought that it might make a positive difference in somebody else's life. Wonderful, right? And that. But 20% comes from me saying, that's a good idea. I'm going to do more of that. And then doing it. And, I'm doing a new YouTube channel right now called successfulfilipina.com, right? That's the website. And then making a series of videos for Filipinas because, I listen to one horror story after another as I meet Filipinas, right? This person raped me, this person did this, my father shot me with a revolver, my this and that. My dad always liked my brothers more than me. My boyfriend ran off as soon as we got pregnant. Then I had to go overseas to Saudi Arabia and work for 2 years. And my infants were calling for me. And, I couldn't use a cell phone. It's just one nightmare after another. So do you want to do anything about it? No. It's too much trouble to watch YouTube videos. For most of them, right? I'm busy watching TikTok, right? I can't watch a YouTube video, which used to enrage me. Like, why can't I play a positive role in people's lives? You motherfuckers, right? You're determined to find ways that I can't have dignity and be a positive contributor. And so there you have the codependence, right, of a terrified, regressed, traumatized, inadequate child trying desperately to be good enough and then being told in various ways, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, right? And that codependency, like, you fuckers, you won't let me be good enough. The codependency with my employees, you motherfuckers, you won't let me look great as a company, right? You won't look great yourselves, that's fine with you, but you won't let me look great either. Right? You had to leave the litter on the client's front porch. Yeah. Could have picked it up. You're paid $30 an hour to pick it up, but you thought it was a great idea, for the 10th time to litter on the client's property. How wonderful, right? I love getting emails at 10 p.m. Why is there litter on my I love it, right? So, right, you mother goddamn motherfuckers, you won't let me look good. I'd like to teach you to take over the business. But no, you want more money for doing crappy work and you don't want to learn anything. That's what you want, right? I'd love to be proud of you and praise you and give you a company. How about that, right? I'm retiring. You could double your salary if you learned a few things. But no. You don't want to learn a few things. You just want to fail, right? So there's resentment and hostility. You won't let me look good. You won't let me help you. The users. So there's all this thing. And if I don't do something good, I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable, right? These old unquestioned thoughts. These thoughts go around. They're depressing. It's never going to work. And as soon as I try this, they're going to do this. As soon as I try to help them, as soon as I loan this person money, they're not going to pay me back. As soon as I get, it's like no matter what, I can't get the world to validate me. I can't get the world to appreciate me. I can't get the world to. And then because I'm needing that from the world, then comes the hostility and rage at the world for not giving me what I need, right? Then I feel guilty and ashamed that I'm hostile and judging everyone, right? For not, you wouldn't help me with the sexual abuse. You wouldn't listen when I told you. You wouldn't do that. And you wouldn't let me, right? The whole world is out to get me. The whole world is conspiring, right? To induce trauma and then blame me for the traumatic symptoms. Was what it boils down to. You motherfuckers, you couldn't let a kid be alone, right? You couldn't just leave a kid to get on. No, you had to terrorize him. You had to give him nightmares. You had to beat the shit out of him. You had to take him out in the forest and abandon him, right? We're never coming back for you, right? How can we induce as much terror as possible in this child and then be noble and Christian and higher than thou and new agey and all this and better than the... How can we drive you insane, right? And then when you're crazy, right? And have traumatic, terrified and desperately need support and validation, and then just slap you across the face, right? Another 1,000 times and leave you. That's the plan, right? You motherfuckers, right? That's the... So, where's the way out? Where's the way out, right? I couldn't find it. I could not find it. Dissociation, certainly, like I'm going to retire. Whew, wonderful. Right? I'm going to save up enough money so that I can retire. Wonderful. I'm going to let go of projects to help people that don't want to be helped. Wonderful, right? I'm going to stop judging and complaining that the rest of the world isn't helping me help the people that don't want to be. Wonderful, wonderful, right? Letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. I'm going to let go of all the anxiety and stuff I feel around. I just find America the most difficult country that I've visited. Like, I love Denmark 3 times more than America. I like the Philippines 6 times more. I like Thailand 3 times more. I like Italy more. I like Canada more. So why am I here? Like, why am I here? Move, right? So moving to the Philippines, wonderful. Now, there's the whole depression absurdity around you're supposed to get this free retirement visa. A free retirement visa. If you get this visa, then you can bring in all your things, your household thing for free, your car, your this. But what free means in the Philippines is a year of confusing emails, getting this permit, and then you can come in for free with your household possessions for only, wait for it, $38,000, right? You too can import your things for free for only $38,000. Well, I thought it was free. No, the customs is free, but the taxes, right? The taxes, of course, we have to tax your personal items. So, where does that leave? Okay, right. Sell all these things. I can buy all of those things for less than $48,000 and not have to deal with them, right? So give away, sell, let go, right? So, right? If you don't have anything, right, there, nothing to pack, this and that, where's it going to go? Right, so that's a winnowing process that's happening right now, and I feel lighter. Of course, they shouldn't be doing this. How they're doing it, and my choice can be to let go. Right, wonderful, and pare down. Right, so that's. And one of my responses to fear has been to have redundancy, 3 cell phones and keep them charged and stuff so that if one is broken, I can just plug in the other one and it's ready to go. Or if I lose it, I don't, it's a backup laptop and, this and that. And redundancy, right? Because the world isn't safe, right? So, but I don't enjoy living in that unsafe world and waiting for things to go wrong. I'm constantly torturing myself with worst case scenarios. Right? Let them go, right? Because by not having a business, I'm not constantly waiting to be criticized and frightened about that, right? So that I don't have to have my 3 cell phones to make sure that I can hear and respond to the criticism immediately. So somebody can't reach me. life goes on. So letting go of the business, letting go, of the whole U.S. rat race and all of that, wonderful. Letting go of my land, letting go of I've got to get this nonprofit thing to do this. No, we'll see. We'll see what's fun. We'll see what's fun, right? We'll see what's fun. I'm sure as I travel around the world, there will be plenty of worthy causes. Planting trees is always one of my favorites. I've already planted 5,000 trees. In fact, that's something I'm going to go and do another bit. Wonderful, right? Be carbon negative as a person. You can be carbon negative by planting 1,000 trees per family member. If you have 5 people in your family, plant 5,000 trees, you'll be carbon neutral, basically. And it costs $5,000 to donate the money. It's get a tax deduction and stop, feeling guilty, basically, that you're not doing your part. Do it, right? So, so done that, and I've written the books that I've wanted to write in this process, kind of got them out of my system. Now I can let go of them, right? They're all the... so now I can let go of them and just spend time with people that I enjoy spending time with, which, there's so many friendly people in the Philippines. Plenty of thieves, plenty of all of that as well, right? But they're friendly thieves, right? They smile happily, while they steal your money or lie to you or whatever. But that's much better than unfriendly thieves, right? And, if you understand that, there's thieves about, you can take some precautions and accept that as part of the, the package. $100 here and there is not a big deal. And I don't have to, I don't have to stress about it, right? There are friendly thieves, better than unfriendly thieves. And so that's all kind of lifting out. That's all kind of letting go, lifting out. Depression is a very tight knot of energy that doesn't resolve easily or flow easily. If you let go of things, things flow much easier, and there's no more tight knot of, got to do this so that I can do that, so that I can do this, so that I can look like this, so I can do that, so I can do this, so I can relax, right? It's not relaxing. So these are ways out. But Byron Katie is the newest addition to my ways out. I've been working somewhat with the meditations of the channel Lazarus, but once I know the meditation, my mind just hurriedly focuses on solving whatever I'm addicted to worrying about while I'm meditating, right? And so it isn't actually terribly beneficial. So Byron Katie's The Work is proving to be the biggest doorway out. So every day now I'm doing a worksheet about some belief, some experience, some thought, so that I can be more present and less addictive. Because it doesn't matter what it is. I can be addicted to sweets. I can be addicted to smoking. I can be addicted to pornography. I can be addicted to sex. I can be addicted to seeking approval. I can be addicted to seeking people, seeking approval. I can be addicted to eating. I can be addicted to sugar. I can be addicted to worrying. I can be addicted to self-pity. I mean, it's endless things to addict to. But why? Where's that terror coming from? What beliefs, what unquestioned thoughts are the source of that initial panic that then leads to me having to pick some addiction or other to process? And it goes back to those early abandonment and feeling I'm a bad and unlovable person as unquestioned thoughts of a 5-year-old, of a 10-year-old, have put the fear in my body from the moment I believed that. And so Byron Katie's work boils down to, you pick something that's stressful, preferably somebody else, someone you judge or are annoyed by. You write it down. Then you ask 4 questions. Is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? How do you feel when you believe it's true? Who would you be if you didn't believe it's true? And how is the opposite equally or more true? Those are the 5 questions, basically. How are the opposites equally or more true? You write those down and give examples for each, and 20% release, 20% release, 20% release. And so I'm more interested in getting out of bed. I'm more hopeful. I'm more at peace with myself. I'm more at peace with the world. Like, I recounted the state of mind and being, but more and more I'm just present in the moment. I'm not critically analyzing myself and everyone else in a paranoid state of mind. It's not necessary, right? It doesn't bring me well-being. And really seeing just how much I have tormented myself. My parents may have been cruel and may have punished me, in a variety of instances, but I've remembered it 100,000 times. I've carried it in my body for a lifetime, meaning they hit me for a moment and I've hit me for 49 years. And so, the righteousness of how could you hit a child? How can I hit myself for 49 years? Why aren't I doing something about it? Well, the parents should be, why aren't I doing something about it, right? To myself, to release that terror from that scared little boy in my body. So that's the insight. And I was, so that's wonderful. That's the way out. So I have a daily routine, going for a walk, hot bath, attending to the business I still need to attend to for another couple of months. Do my morning meditation, my evening meditation. Now I do a worksheet with Byron Katie as well. I also usually do a video like this on one of my, 10 to 20 active YouTube channels on different themes, just to take the inside out and give life to it. And as I say, when I teach, I try to always listen and then take action. Because you may not learn anything from what I've said, but I find that if I deepen the action, reaffirm the action, if I'm teaching something I'm already doing, or do something new if I'm teaching something that's just occurred to me, yeah, that's a good idea, do it. So in this way, I would say overall, I'm about 70% better than I was when I kind of went deeper into the reenactment of the childhood abuse with my therapist. So I'm 70% better, and I see a path to 120% better, and that's exciting. That's fun, because the path does not involve convincing anyone else or requiring anyone else to change. And I think that's the gift of Byron Katie. When I didn't know how to take care of myself at all, which happened with my parents and then happened with my therapist, I desperately needed the world to change for me to have a life, right? And I largely failed to change the world. But while I was busy proselytizing and complaining and blaming and shaming the world for not taking care of me, I slowly learned in the same time how to take care of myself, partly by giving advice and taking it, right? I would blame my therapist, and then I would say, well, let me do some of that, right? They're obviously not doing any of it. Let me do some of that. And my parents still haven't gotten it, right? But maybe I can get it, right? And so that's, and I would say spending more time with Filipinas as lovers is also a 50% improvement in that cycle, right? So there's hundreds of percent of improvement, to get back to that, from that, relatively good place, crashing 95%. Things got so bad. And then they need to go up hundreds of percent to come back to and move beyond that point. And, I'm making steady progress by letting go, by being present, by taking my own advice, by tending to my mental sanity, which is what Byron Katie is most helping me with. And by letting the world do its thing. And me doing my thing, to improve my life and the parts of the world that I care about. So that's my update. Thank you for witnessing, for being present. Feels good. All right.